Diversity 2, working with this 2017 GMC Acadia SLT V6. There was a code, PO128. Cooling is connected to the steering rack. This code came up. So in this case, my friend called me or texted me and asked me if I could come and assist with her problem. She had a problem because she was being charged, I believe, over $3,000 to fix this issue. But a friend happened to be from out of town, and he was there, and he's a mechanic. And I was asked to assist him in this situation. He tinkered around with the sensor, the temp sensor, and the cable connecting to that was loose. He simply reached down, pushed it back on, and went to a shop and had the code erased. They traveled about 1,000 miles out of town and back, and there was no problems.
The tube that goes between these heads,
Yeah.
over to this hose, I think this is the hose right here. I think that's the other end of,
Yeah. Okay.
to the
Get to this for these parts, or to remove whatever we need to remove to get the situation solved. Over $3,000 they were trying to charge her. They were going to replace her antifreeze. She didn't need that. Antifreeze is fine. Her vehicle didn't have a lot of miles. Why do you need to replace? Why does she need fresh antifreeze? That was seemed to be part of the bill. And they were going to replace her spark plugs. Her spark plugs were fine. She didn't need spark plugs. And they had mentioned the temp sensor, and they take off all this stuff and made it seem like a big deal. And it was not a big deal. My research, this is what this turned out to be. And going back and forth with this gentleman, her friend, the problem was solved. But just in case for future references, we went over how to disassemble this top part of the engine or engine compartment to get to the temp sensor, thermostat housing, valve cover gaskets, the O-rings, etc. to solve this problem. And this is what we have here. Diversity 2. Problem, solution, standby. You can get these parts off of, I actually went to AutoZone and they said that they had to order this particular part if I wanted it. The thermostat with thermostat housing. And this was about from $121 all the way up to $194.99, depending. But you can find this part. One gentleman mentioned that he found his on eBay. But however, you can find these parts. And if this thermostat, the pole, or whatever you call the pole here, if it's in good shape, you don't need to replace that. Simply replace the O-ring. Get you a pick and take the old one off, put the new one on, and that'll be fine. And one gentleman mentioned that you may have to remove a portion here. I forgot the name of this portion, but you want if you do remove that, you want to replace the O-rings on anything you remove there, and simply take the thermostat housing out. I think they're 10 millimeter bolts. The other bolts around the air intake 13 millimeter little bolts. There's some that's located that are on top of the air intake. They're reset inside of there. Having a simple impact drill, I have a 10 millimeter socket. I got a 13 millimeter socket, really small. And if you want, you can add an extension to it. Well, it doesn't fit that one, but You can add an extension to it. But if you need an extension rod to reach down in there, they sell these at Harbor Freight. Having a good either ratchet or impact drill, you can get that over with really fast. But these parts, not hard to get to. I heard 15 minutes. You can disassemble this. You want to make sure you drain some of the antifreeze out. Have a bucket ready. Drain some of the antifreeze so you don't have a big mess. Have your rags ready, and you take it from there. Well, this got pretty good light on it. See, if you follow your finger.
And once you trace that wire down, look at that wire, and just at the end of that wire is that temperature sending unit.
At the end of this wire is the temperature sending unit. Follow your finger all the way down there. Okay.
Okay.
So now tell me about this again. If you take it off, you have to be real careful taking it off, right?
Yeah, when they took it off, they didn't disconnect this right here. They just undid these screws right here.
Okay.
And this comes off.
To the air box.
And then, of course, you have to take some of this stuff undone.
Snap some of the cables off.
And then, once you start taking these bolts off.
You got these bolts that look like this.
Yeah,
right here.
back there.
Right. Okay.
And it's got to have bolts up here too, or maybe some of these go through there.
Okay.
But once you get all that off,
you kind of wiggle really slowly.
Yeah. Now you see, what they were doing down there at that Chevrolet dealer, GMC dealership.
Mm-hmm.
They were wanting to charge $2,000.
Goodness.
To take off that thermostat.
Okay.
And then they were wanting to put, and then to change the spark plugs, you can change the spark plugs back here. Now they got coils on them, individual coils.
Right. Okay.
But you can change these without any problem.
Right.
But to change these up here, you've got to take this off again.
Okay.
To get to the front three.
Ah.
Well, what they were doing is they said, the book also said you don't have to change them, but every 100,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this car's only got 60,000 miles on it.
Okay.
They were wanting to go ahead and change the spark plugs, which would be a good deal if they were doing that to save her money.
Right.
But what they were doing is they were charging $2,100 to pull all this off and get to the housing,
right.
The thermostat housing.
Mm-hmm.
They were charging $2,100 to do that. They were charging another $650.
Goodness.
To change the spark plugs, because they said to change the spark plugs you had to pull this off to get to the spark plugs. Well, if you already got this off,
right,
to get to that,
yeah,
why would you charge her again to $650? To get.
Goodness.
Yeah, but they were charging her twice to get this off,
yeah,
and they were talking about changing that too. So I'm not sure they weren't charging her 3 times.
Goodness.
What
a rip-off.
Pulling this off,
yeah,
and probably 3 gaskets and 3 this and 3 everything.
Yeah.
But in reality, we could have pulled this one off. You could have changed all of that, changed spark plugs and everything else, then put this back on and been done with it. The truck drives fine.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay.
And all I did to it is I got that thermostat and I was looking at changing it, and I went down there and the wire on there was loose.
Oh, this one here. Okay.
Going to the thermostat house.
Right.
So I simply put it back on there, and kind of pinched it on there a little bit with my fingers.
Yeah.
We got in it, drove to Little Rock, Arkansas and back, and drove around here and everything else, and it's doing just absolutely fine.
Wow.
So
oh goodness.
I think that if I was driving it and that situation was to come up again,
yeah,
I would probably do 2 things. I'd probably reach back there and put that wire back on there and make sure it's on there.
Right.
And I take it to O'Reilly's and I get them to put the computer on it and get a code.
Right.
Which charge you nothing. They do that for free. And then tell them to clear the code.
Right.
And if it is any code in it or not, you have them hit the clear button. The red button.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll hit the clear button. And that's all I did was put that on, took it down, had them check the numbers on the computer,
Right.
clear it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it immediately started running fine,
Wow.
and haven't had any problems since then.
Well, good. Man, these people try to take advantage of
Oh,
kids.
no, take advantage, my
They-
gosh,
they-
that's just out and out thievery. You know that?
That's unbelievable. That much money, and they could have all this off and got the job over with.
Well, to get all this off, according to what I've read and what these mechanics that do it all the time tell me, 10, 15 minutes.
Right. You're right. I was watching a video myself, and you're right. They were taking the bolts off, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, they had to lift the whole thing up.
And the GM wants them to replace that whole tube in the thermostat housing.
Yeah,
But
I saw that. Yeah.
what I saw is you can pull that thermostat out just like any other,
Right. Yeah.
and put it back up in that housing. If there's no rust or anything, and it's not leaking any water,
Right, yeah,
then they had to put
yeah.
anything in it, so I don't think there's anything leaking any place.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that there was a gasket on the little tube that they replaced also.
Well, the housing and the thermostat are right down here.
Right.
There's a tube that goes between these heads
Yeah.
over to this hose. I think this is the hose right here. I think that's
Bigger
the other
hose?
end.
Yeah. Okay.
See the tube right there, the metal tube?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that metal tube right there is, and I'm not going to swear to this, but
Yeah.
I think that metal tube right there is the tube that goes to the thermostat housing on the other side.
That explains why the guy was able to slide that tube back. He had some room up in here to slide the tube back.
Yeah, there's on that tube there's this one bolt that goes in, I think, to the head.
Yeah, he showed that. I remember seeing
And you
it.
take that one bolt out, and you don't even have to take this undone.
Right.
But take that bolt out, take that over there off, just like you would any thermostat.
Right. Yeah.
Lift it up as a unit, pull the thermostat housing off, but not the thermostat housing. Take the thermostat out, put it back in, new one, put it down on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Look like we've been watching the same video.
Huh?
I think
Oh, may have
we've
been.
been watching the same video.
Yeah. Well, I watched the video while I was down here looking at it.
Okay.
It gave me an advantage.
Okay. Yeah. Well, good. Let me get a picture of the Lex. There's some numbers here, and there's some numbers down here.
No, but is this where I put the water?
Yeah, that's where you put your coolant.
No, the coolant. Oh, where'd I put the windshield wiper fluid? Right
Put the
here?
windshield wiper fluid right here.
Oh, put
Yeah.
some in there.
See how
Oh,
tiny
you
this
just
is?
go right ahead.
14
on
bucks.
You know what? That's not it. That's car wash. I don't have any.
About
I thought I
14
had
bucks.
some. Oh well.
14 bucks, right?
I think it's $14.
Okay.
14 or 15.
Okay. Well, good. I got some good information for a top mechanic. You're top mechanic, right?
Me?
Yeah, top mechanic.
Yeah.
This is the top mechanic you're listening to. This 2017 GMC Acadia.
And they will ask you if it's this is an SLT,
SLT.
Whatever that means.
And it only has how many miles on it?
60,000.
60,000 miles. And it runs great.
Just got back from driving at about 1,000 miles
Just did
after
it?
they told us we need to do $3,200 worth of work on it.
Wow. And it's running fine.
Yeah.
Great. That's good enough.
It was going a temperature unit.
Okay.
And the temperature unit, if you're driving it and that stays down on cold, what that means is that it's not getting a signal from your temperature sending unit to the computer.
Okay.
And the first thing you need to check is the wire connection going down there. And then if the wire connection's good and everything and this doesn't move, then you probably need to think about changing your temperature sending unit first thing before you do anything else.
Right.
And then if this comes up, it doesn't have to go any place particular. It just got to come up to, which means that it's getting a reading. The code, the check engine light's over here, but it never came on while we were driving it.
Right.
And the code comes across the center right here, and it says power steering assistant problem.
May
Okay.
cause problems.
2017. Your model?
Yeah.
2017.
GMC
And it's a V6.
a V6 Acadia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this got pretty good light on it. See, if you follow your finger,
And once you trace that wire down, you know, look at that wire, and just at the end of that wire is that
Yeah.
temperature sending unit.
at the end of this wire is the temperature sending unit.